Welcome back to another episode of Bird's Eye View. I'm here today with Alyssa Baskam. Thank you so much for being on with us today.
I'm Alex C. with Bird Law Group.
Of course. Can you, I guess, just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, what you do? Spoiler alert, she's a lawyer, so...
I am a lawyer. I like complex cases in particular. So other law firms bring my law firm, which is Cross Kincaid Bascom, on to help them with their complex cases. Sometimes that's pre-suit, sometimes that's in motions practice, sometimes that's in trial, and sometimes it's on appeal. So we do a little bit of everything, and we like to nerd out and have a lot of fun doing it.
And I can attest to that. If anybody's thinking about bringing in appellate counsel in any kind of case, do it sooner rather than later.
Yes.
I find it has been very helpful working with Alyssa and Anna and Meredith on our cases in particular. So, but anyway, just a little plug there for embedded appellate counsel. It is good.
Appellate counsel.
It is good.
I love that you said that because I love when firms bring us in earlier, and a lot of firms don't know that you can do that or that we do that. But we have a few firms that call us as soon as they get a case in, when they know it's going to be tricky, when they know there's going to be something going on with it, or if they just know, hey, we like really seasoned trial lawyers to be thinking about issues with us from the beginning. And so when firms do that, it's just so seamless. It's great to work with them. But like I said, would do it at any stage. And we love working with you.
And I get that you can come in at any stage, but what are some of the benefits for, folks out there who may be on the fence or have never heard embedded appellate counsel before? What are the benefits of bringing you guys in early?
I think there's a lot of benefits to bringing us in early. One is because of the work we do, our specialty is thinking about what is going to be admitted? What do we need to do to make sure that this evidence is admissible? What do we need to do to protect your case on appeal? And you can think about those things after you've had a trial or during trial, but if you're thinking about it from the very beginning, then it's just so much easier, right? Like imagine going on vacation and you decide to go same day and just jump on a plane. I've done that before.
So you're to say, I've seen you on social media. That's a thing.
That's a thing that I do. And it can be fun, the spontaneity of it all. But every time that happens, you forgot something at home. You don't have the right outfit, or you can't get a reservation for a meal because you did it last minute. It's the same with litigation. If you're not thinking about how am I getting that evidence admitted, or what specific evidence I need to survive summary judgment, or what do I need my expert to say during their deposition, if you're not thinking about it ahead of time, you might not get it when you could have gotten it. And then when you pull us in later afterwards, we're going to do everything we can to help you win. And we're pretty good at that anyway.
Right.
But it's a whole lot less painful, and we're increasing your percentages of success if you're bringing us in at the beginning. It's like planning your trip 6 months ahead, and having that perfect travel agent planned itinerary who that travel agent knows about this spot you wouldn't have ever thought of. And they know about this really cool thing that you could do. It's like that, but with evidence and killing it at trial and making sure your appeal is just tied with a bow.
I love the way that you compared that to planning a trip, because I think that's exactly what I've seen in my practice. Having you guys on board before we ever went to trial and being involved in the trial planning and strategizing process. It's, you probably don't want to file that motion in limine because you might get it, but you might not want it, right? I think it's very easy for us that work up a case from go, and we are wedded to it, involved in it, really close to it, to want what we want without thinking about, well, maybe we shouldn't be asking for that.
Yeah.
Right?
And the three of us, Anna, me, and Meredith, we come from three different backgrounds, different types of practicing. And so we have three different perspectives that we can bring to your case. And so you do such excellent med mal work, and I've done med mal work over the years, but I also have done a lot of products liability. And so the strategic motions practice that I have spent so much time doing, which is so expert heavy and involves so many very complicated pieces of evidence, gives me a different perspective that I can bring to your case. That's valuable in a different way than what you bring to your case.
Right. Yeah. And Anna's criminal background,
exactly,
shockingly, in some of my med mal cases, has brought a lot to bear.
Right.
I never would have expected that.
And she's just been on her feet so much.
Right.
Like anytime she's involved in a case with folks, they usually take advantage of having her take witnesses at trial, sometimes doing closing, because she's phenomenal. Mm-hmm. She's so great.
She argued our motions before the last trial we were supposed to go into, and it's not just good from a strategy perspective and a protect your verdict on appeal perspective, but it's also nice to sit back and really focus on trying your case. And I know these other pieces are part of trying your case, but focus on trying your case and putting up your evidence and letting some other folks come in and help with motions in limine, jury charges, even jury selection, right? Or taking witnesses. So really big plug for Alyssa and her team, because full disclosure, had a conversation with them this morning on a case, and just really what they bring to the cases they're involved in is invaluable. So
thank you. We love to do it.
Yeah. And it shows when people like what they do, they're better at it. I fully believe that.
I do too.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah. So what, I know, well, tell the listeners a little bit, I know this, but tell them a little bit about where you were before you made the switch over to join Anna and Merida.
I was a partner at Beasley Allen, which is a pretty well-known firm in the plaintiff's world. There, I alluded to it, we did a lot of products liability cases, so single incident auto cases, basically where the car doesn't operate the way it should in a car accident, and that either contributed to or caused the accident. That sounds a little simple when I say that, but they're really not simple cases to work up. So I got a lot of experience dealing with every aspect of a complex case you can think of. And these defendants never settle until the last second, if at all. So working a case up, thinking about trial, that's my bread and butter. That's what I've been doing for a long time.
And was there anything in particular, what motivated your decision to make the change from the bigger law firm to a smaller boutique practice?
I didn't know this about myself until recently, but I really wanted to have my own firm. When I went to Beasley Allen, one of the things that was so appealing to it was that it was this very large kind of corporate structured entity where I would be safe, where I would always have a job, where I would always have work, and where I could just be a lawyer and not really think about the business.
Right.
And I thought that was what I was going to want forever, because I do just love to just get rooted into the law and rooted into my cases. But in the last year or so, I think I feel like I've now grown up in the law. I mean, I started practicing when I was 23, so I really was a baby.
Right.
And I feel like over several years as a partner in that firm, I really came into who I am and realized that I wanted to be that thought leader. I wanted to make the decisions about what I worked on, about what my firm worked on, about even things as simple as the marketing and what kind of a personality we put out there, what we're known for. You can't do that at a shop like that. So I knew I was going to have to go, even though I have great respect for that firm and for my partners there. I know we're going to keep working on cases together, and I look forward to that because they're excellent lawyers too. But it was my time too, since, it's bird law, it's time to fly the nets.
Yes, spread your wings.
So I just spread my wings.
Yeah, I always knew that I wanted some sort of autonomy in my practice, but when I took over Bird Law Group, I still trip over my words saying it, but which is silly because I've had it for almost 5 years, but I can relate to that feeling because I didn't know it until it happened, right? Didn't know it's what I really wanted until it was there and able to get it. So
that switch flips.
Yeah. What has been one of your most impactful cases that you've worked on?
I mean, there's two really that come immediately to mind that I will always think of and be honored to have worked on. The first one is a case involving a young 5-year-old boy named Miles Janess. He was in the back seat of a Toyota Corolla and he was staring at his home. They were at a light 50 yards from their home when their car, when their car was rear-ended, and the car crumpled so badly that in the pictures, it looks like there was no back seat all the way to the trunk, like it gone, completely gone.
Wow.
Obviously, Miles did not survive that. No one can survive that. And so in products liability, it's when you see a picture like that, that's usually what gets people to call us and say, hey, will you see if that's defect? And
yeah.
But the reason it was so impactful for me to work on this case is because the thing that Toyota could have done to fix that problem would have cost like 50 cents.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry, not 50 cents, $50. Oh, that would be even more egregious, but
which is still probably more like 5 cents to Toyota, right?
Like $50, yeah. They could have done it.
Right.
And they didn't, and this boy's life is gone. And wow, it was impactful. I learned so much in that case. We did a lot of crash testing. It was a really complicated and strategically brilliant case, but one of the reasons it was so impactful to me was because I was completely in the captain's seat of the damages side of the case. I took every biomechanic deposition. I took every doctor deposition. I handled all of the 4 trial depositions for people who couldn't be there, and I was going to take all of the damages witnesses at trial. And being in charge of that side of the case made me realize how important those aspects of the case are. Mm-hmm. And you get this, when you're involved in a complex case from the liability side, we can forget about damages.
Absolutely.
Because we have to survive liability.
You do.
You have to survive summary judgment, and you have to get there with the jury and explain these very complex, difficult things to understand to them, that we can just kind of let damages go by the wayside. And, I think we've all been guilty of it. We get to trial, we throw up the same 3 people, we ask them the same 3 questions and call it a day. Because they're so badly hurt or they're dead that it seems sort of obvious.
Right.
But this case was so impactful for me because I realized how important those witnesses can be. Mm-hmm. And I also got to engage with them and get to know Miles on such a deeper level that it just became really important to me. And I loved that side of the case so much.
Right.
So that was one that was hugely impactful to me. I probably talked already too long on just
no, I'm enjoying hearing it.
I get really excited talking about these cases because they were so meaningful to me. I just had coffee with Miles' mom last week. We settled this case over a year ago, and she and I remain close. I just think the world of her and Miles' father, their family is just, they're strong, incredible people who didn't deserve, no one deserves what happened to them.
Sure.
But then the next case that was super impactful to me was one that we resolved last year. That was a van rollover case. And you probably heard
hearing about this one. Yes.
Because this van was going down the highway and it turned over and caught on fire. So this was all over the news. Everyone heard about this case. We worked this case up. We had a lot of women died in that van, and we represented a lot of their families. And you think of a rollover and you think of action movies, and so you think, the driver must have been doing something cause it to roll over, but it turns out this car was defective in its stability and its handling, which caused the rollover. All of these things were not the driver's fault. It was the vehicle itself. And
that's terrifying.
It really is. And as we get into this case, we learn that not only was that van not stable as designed, but it also had the wrong tires on it, which it had the wrong tires on it because a tire shop put the wrong tires on it. And then this van went to another car shop a few months later, and they didn't catch it either, even though they took those tires off to do brake work. And then they put the wrong tires back on. And
so many chances.
I know. And then it goes to another one.
Oh my gosh.
And this other one realizes that there's wear on the tires, brand new tires. Mind you, they're less than a year old, but realizes, okay, they need new tires. And so this last one could have fixed it all. But instead, they only replaced 2 of the tires. And they put those 2 tires in the front, which you should really change all 4 tires at once. You should change 4 tires at once.
Yes.
But if you're only going to replace 2, they need to go on the back. And this has to do with traction and handling. But he puts them on the front. So this is like a bag of horribles at every step. Oh my
gosh.
And then on top of that, we learned that the first one, which is a national tire chain, they had this whole tire selection site that they required their franchisee to use, and the site told them the wrong tires. So this was a true apportionment case. We had
a lot of different moving parts and people that are legitimately responsible.
In different ways. So
right.
6 different defendants, I think, and we had to prove all the different buckets of the ways that they were responsible, which required a ton of strategy, a ton of really just thinking things through, and also just a ton of work. I took, just me, and there were other incredible lawyers who worked on this case too. I alone took something like 80 depositions.
Wow. And for those of you that don't know, that's a lot in any one case. That is a lot.
80.
That's a ton.
Yeah. And it was some of the most interesting and also tragic depositions that I've ever taken or been involved in. So I learned so much about the complexities of cases, about the ways that you have to negotiate the law and your evidence and your facts. And I mean, it was just pure strategy all the way through. So I feel truly that I am a different lawyer now than I was before that case. It was that instructive.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sounds like that was a real testament to also kind of teamwork makes the dream work. Not to be too cliche, but
yes.
I mean, another reason to bring other lawyers in on your cases, right? Or if you have a situation like that where multiple plaintiffs are represented by different firms, like collaboratively.
Yes.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that in our world.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I think it's easy for us to talk about it because I'm open to working with other people. You are too. That's what you guys do. But for those people out there who maybe hold their cases close to the vest for some reason.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're doing their clients a disservice.
I agree. I think if you have a complex case, it's close to, in my mind, it's close to malpractice to do that case alone.
Yeah. It's not as fun either.
It's not as fun.
For that.
But you also really do. You need the perspective. You need somebody having your back because like we're human beings. We're not robots. We're going to miss something and whether it's going to miss something that is malpractice or just miss something that could have made that case better. You need that counterpoint. And it is nice working with other firms and learning from other lawyers because we all have our own personality. We all have our own experiences that inform what we do. We have things that we can help grow and shape each other with. So it's just so valuable. And one reason I do love my firm now and our model is it allows me to work with so many different lawyers. Like I can work with anybody I want to, anyone who wants to work with me. And that's really exciting for me because it's just so great to see how other people do things. And, you know, for smaller firms who say, okay, that's well and good, but I can't just split up my fee with somebody every time, or like it was already referred in from another firm. So I've already am splitting the fee or for many reasons that you might not think about bringing in another lawyer. The nice thing about our model is like we can work within what works for that case, for that particular need. And if you're a solo practitioner, it's so much easier to bring us in on your complex case than having to hire an associate or hire another lawyer. You know, like we're all nervous about what SB 68 means for us.
100%.
It's not a time that I think a lot of firms want to be hiring. But if you're overwhelmed with work or you have this huge case that comes in or a huge need or you've got a trial coming up that you weren't expecting, it's a great way to bring in someone like us instead of having to go out on a ledge with hiring right now.
Right. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. It's not always a one size fits all arrangement, and there's a lot of flexibility there. And I don't know if you haven't looked into it, I think collaborating with folks on your cases make us better lawyers. And then there's so much to be said for the value add for the client too, right?
Right.
If you're not batting those ideas around with people, again, I just think you're doing your clients a disservice. But that's me. That's me who doesn't do any case by myself. Bill typically didn't do any cases by himself either. Mm-hmm. He would always say, it's more fun to work with people. That's why I do what I do, right?
Yeah. I think that's true for most of us, right? We're litigators because we're social.
We're social.
Yeah. We like to connect with people.
Yes.
What better way to do that than to work with others?
And if somebody's not in your foxhole with you while you're like in the trenches of trial, you're really lonely in there, I'd imagine. So, well, one of the things we do on every episode is talk about someone, whatever it might be that you want to give the bird to. So who would you give the bird to, or what would you give the bird to?
I've seen this segment on your social media. I was excited for this because of what's been happening lately. I would give the bird to every legislator who voted in favor of SB 68. Because that legislation does nothing to help Georgians. It actively takes away our, because we are Georgians too.
Yes.
Our constitutional rights. It is going to clog the court system. It is going to delay and prevent justice for people.
Yeah.
And I think just even the appeals that we're going to see come out of this, because I don't think it's constitutional as drafted, we're going to see appeals from that, which, I mean, my firm does appellate work. I've had a few people text me, be like, well, it's a good time to be an appellate lawyer. Hope you're ready.
Fair.
Like, yeah, I don't want to have to do that.
Right.
I would rather SB 68 have never passed, and that's what should have happened. Our legislators should know better, and they should listen to lawyers. I mean, the defense bar president wrote a letter to our legislators telling them not to pass this. The defense lawyer said, don't do this. It is bad for us. And they did it anyway. So that's who I give the bird to.
I have to join in that. Absolutely have to join in that. It has stripped rights of everyone away. It has given nothing to anybody except for large corporations and insurance companies. And believe me, those are the last entities you want to be giving anything extra to.
I think it's telling that the proponents of SB 68 said they were doing this to reduce insurance premiums for Georgians.
Right.
But then when an amendment was proposed that would cap raising insurance premiums based on inflation, it was voted down.
Right.
If that's truly the intention behind this legislation, that should be a no-brainer.
It should be.
That should have been why didn't we think of that to begin with?
Right.
Why wasn't that in the original draft?
Your insurance is going to go up. I mean, it's going to go up.
It's absolutely going to go up. Florida did this last year, and their insurance premiums went up.
Yeah.
Because you know who does not care? Insurance companies.
100%. Who have billions of dollars.
Yeah. I mean, they made record profits in Georgia last year. They didn't raise the premiums because of litigation costs.
No.
They did it because they could. And they'll do it again because they still can.
Yeah. And even more so now.
Yeah.
More freedom, less accountability. That's what SB 68 has done.
Yeah. Our civil justice system is the only thing that holds these corporations accountable. And we see left and right how they fight and they balk at the civil justice system. And I think the idea of tort reform is so wild to me, because when you look at the proponents of tort reform, the ones who want to take away our civil justice system, it's always corporations. It's always faceless entities who want to cut corners and want to do the worst thing for individuals. These car companies are always on the side of that. They don't want to have to make cars safer. But you know who is responsible for making cars safer over the last 20 years? Products lawyers. You can see in the history of cars and the ways that they've gotten safer over the last 20 years that the only thing that has caused that is litigation. And you see it in MedMal. What makes doctors behave more safely?
Systems and policies.
It's litigation.
It is.
I mean, it's certainly not the medical boards that are reviewing.
No, it's not.
You know this better than anyone right now.
We could talk about that for a whole other episode.
So we need the civil justice system.
We do.
And any tort reform, all it is it's really tort deform. It's taking away rights of individuals for companies. And that's the last thing that we need right now.
I agree. I mean, just educate yourselves, y'all. Our legislators didn't do it, but, and that sucks. But it's not SB 68. It's not a good thing. I join in giving them the bird, all of them, everything about it. But, well, I've really enjoyed, having you on today, talking about life, law, some legislative action, but mostly life and law. I've very, very much enjoyed having you on. So thanks so much for being on with us.
Thank you for having me. This has been a blast.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, follow, like I said, all the social media stuff I'm supposed to tell you to do. And stay tuned for our next episode.